lot of people ask, how do I make my pilot go viral? But I think that's the wrong question. Before you worry about marketing, Kickstarter, YouTube, social media, you have to make a pilot that's actually worth watching. So today I want to break down what I think separates the indie animated pilots people remember from the ones they forget. Let's go. Hi, I'm Emily Brundage and I create cartoons for a living. Over the past decade, I've pitched and sold 8 original animated shows. Most recently, I created my own original animated show, Goldie, for Apple TV. It's been nominated for 2 Emmys, including Best Writing. There's a reason people always say story is king. Think about it. Even if a pilot has incredible animation, gorgeous artwork, if we don't care about the story or the characters, it probably won't stay with us. Unfortunately, beautiful art can't save a weak story. That's why I always say story first. Once you have a script you genuinely love, then you can design the heck out of it. So what does a pilot story actually need? Well, honestly, at its most basic, it's pretty simple. You need a clear premise, that's your show's logline, and a story with a beginning, middle, and end. That's the foundation. But if you want to create a pilot people actually remember, you need a bit more than just structure. You need conflict.
No! God, please, no! No!
Many creators avoid conflict because they're afraid of it themselves. You yourself may be conflict avoidant, but your characters need to be proactive.
No!
Stories need problems, even tiny problems. Here are some examples. Someone wants something. Someone or something gets in the way. Somebody makes a mistake. Your characters should be flawed. There's a misunderstanding, a rivalry. Even silly conflict works, like Pee Wee Herman going to the ends of the earth to get his red bike back.
Pee-wee, how are you ever gonna pay a reward like that, huh?
It's simple. Whoever returns the bike is obviously the person who stole it, so they don't deserve any reward.
It only needs to be life or death to that character.
I wouldn't sell my bike for all the money in the world, not for $100 billion, million, trillion dollars.
Without conflict, nothing changes. It's frankly boring.
Getting kind of bored.
The next thing great pilots have is great characters. Your characters should feel like real people. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you want people to become invested in your story, they first have to become invested in the people living inside it. We don't love characters because they're cool or because they have an awesome design. We love them because we recognize ourselves in them. Real people want things. They have fears. They have insecurities. They have flaws. They avoid certain situations because they're scared of what might happen. They make mistakes. They have blind spots. When you write a character, ask yourself, what do they want more than anything? What's standing in their way? What are they afraid of? And how do they solve problems differently than everyone else? The last question is especially important because if every character reacts to a problem the same way, they all start to just sound like the writer. The fun comes from watching different personalities collide. That's where so much of the comedy comes from. It's also where emotion comes from. In Strawberry Vampire, check out my shirt. I'm reppin' Franny desperately wants to fit in and become a normal American kid.
I will win spelling bee and prove once and for all that I am good, solid American child.
But she's also deeply empathetic and constantly caught between 2 worlds. Every decision she makes is filtered through that conflict. In Knights of Guinevere, Andy and Frankie are foils for each other. Andy is logical and cautious, while Frankie is spontaneous and carefree. They challenge each other in ways that push the story forward. And when conflict comes up, like finding the Guinevere robot, they approach it from completely different perspectives.
Better bring it to security. Maybe there's a reward out for it. Why not bring it to security after I fix it and see if I can't wow anyone? Know what I mean?
Just like no two real people solve a problem the same way, your characters shouldn't either. Great characters don't just move the plot forward. They create plot by making choices that only they would make. Here's a classic writing exercise. Put your 2 or 3 main characters in an elevator, then have it break down. How does each character react? If everyone responds the same way, your characters probably aren't distinct enough. Speaking of distinct characters, let's talk about the successful new indie pilot Run Monster Run. Right away, the pilot introduces 3 characters who couldn't be more different. There's Zappy, a childlike, chaotic, impulsive little monster who's quick to anger. Then there's Nebulor, a little alien who's almost Zappy's opposite. Thoughtful, smart, and bookish, but also nervous and hesitant. And finally, there's Gloom, a one-eyed monster who's cynical, morose, and a bit mysterious. The pilot immediately throws them into a high-pressure situation. They're trapped inside a mysterious asylum with strict rules and constant surveillance. Kind of like being stuck in that broken elevator.
Oh, hello? Dude, no one's answering.
Okay, don't panic. What did we do when we were stuck in that meat locker?
Oh! Get us out of here! The emergency phone's not working.
And because each character has such a distinct personality, they all react differently. Those reactions don't just create comedy, they create conflict, reveal character, and move the story forward. The fact that they can self-reflect, grow from mistakes, and in Zappy's case, apologize for terrorizing the other characters, makes them characters we can and want to root for. Animation fans today aren't asking for Pixar-level animation. A lot of people have grown up on YouTube, watching different forms of storytelling. They watch student animated films, animatics, and minimalist animation. What actually matters now is good visual communication. Can we understand what's happening, who's talking, where we are, the emotion, the tone? If yes, well then your pilot's already working on some level. Jaden Animations is a master storyteller. Her videos aren't incredibly polished, definitely not on the level of Pixar. They're made up of simple, expressive characters and stick figure style animation, but that's all they need to be. The animation isn't carrying the videos, it's there to support the story. Jaden does the heavy lifting through the way she reflects on experiences, lets us into her quirky obsessions.
My brain has latched onto this new hyperfixation so tightly that even after several months, my obsession has only gotten stronger. It's this little guy called Chikawa.
And recounts the awkward moments of growing from an ordinary YouTuber into someone suddenly invited to increasingly exclusive events. The animation enhances the storytelling, but the storytelling is what keeps people watching. The same goes for Mummy Joe.
I am so popular, every day is basically filled with drama.
His crude, simple drawing style perfectly complements his fast-paced dialogue and storytelling. I'm sure it also makes his videos much easier to produce, but that simplicity doesn't take away from his skill as a storyteller. If anything, it enhances it. The animation supports the story instead of trying to distract from it. These animation YouTubers don't need fancy or finished-looking animation because they're already such compelling storytellers. And you know what? Animation isn't the end-all be-all anymore. People think, once I can afford better animation. No, a pilot doesn't need fully produced animation to be successful. Animation supports good storytelling, but it doesn't replace it. What's really exciting is that younger audiences are watching a ton of animation on YouTube. They're happily watching animatics, animation memes, and other rougher forms of animation. In other words, audiences don't necessarily need everything to look finished. If the story is engaging, they're more than willing to come along for the ride. Kiana Consmith's show, Pretty Pretty Please I Don't Want to Be a Magical Girl, has built a remarkable fan base from an animatic alone. It didn't need to be fully animated to win over indie animation fans. All it needed was a great premise, compelling characters, and fantastic storytelling from a board artist who's just as skilled as comedy as she is at action. The fact that the story and premise came out of Kiana's desire not to be an animation showrunner makes it even more compelling. Sorry, Kiana, but it seems showrunning is your destiny.
One often meets his destiny on the road he takes to avoid it.
Strawberry Vampire followed a similar model. It's a highly produced animatic, complete with final voice performances, original songs, and an original score. While one scene is fully animated, I'd actually argue that our board artist Melissa Shu's work is so expressive that something would almost be lost in transition to full animation, because her boards have such energy and charm just on their own. Another thing you'll find in most great animated pilots is originality. You don't have to invent an entirely new genre, but your pilot still has to feel fresh. For example, although the new indie pilot, Run Monster Run, shares some common themes with the amazing digital circus, characters trapped in someone else's world, being controlled by a digital entity, because it has its own personality, style, and characters, it still feels fresh. Originality often comes from your own experience and perspective. It can also come from unexpected combinations of media, unique characters, and relevant, emotionally resonant themes. Strawberry Vampire offers a fresh take on the immigrant experience in America, and it resonated with many viewers who saw themselves in Franny's struggles, trying to fit in at school, struggling through spelling, and feeling caught between two cultures. A new pilot, Next Friday Magical Meow Meow, takes a fun mixed media approach, combining traditional 2D animation with felt characters and cutout animation. Its charming cast is full of personality, and its gorgeous color palette feels fresh and contemporary. I was really excited to see this pilot pop up a few days ago, and I'm wishing the team all the luck in the world. A great way to test whether your pilot is original enough is to ask yourself, what's the thing only I could make? That's usually where originality lives. A lot of creators chase trends. They imitate whatever's popular, whatever's getting funded, whatever the YouTube algorithm likes. But audiences can feel authenticity, and they can feel fakeness.
You disgust me. How can you live with yourself?
Just cool it, Zippy.
You sit on a throne of lies.
Look, I'm not kidding.
You're a fake.
I'm a fake?
Yes.
How'd you like to be dead?
Good pilots know exactly what they are. They aren't embarrassed by themselves. They're confident. They're weird if they need to be weird. Funny if they're funny. Heartfelt if they're heartfelt. They're not pretending to be something they're not, or trying to ape another show too closely. A great pilot isn't about having the biggest budget, the smoothest animation, celebrity voices, or expensive software. It is about telling a compelling story, creating memorable characters, communicating clearly, offering something fresh, being sincere in what you're trying to say. If you can do those things, even with an animatic, you've already accomplished something a surprising number of pilots never do. So good job. And if you're not there yet, don't worry. I wrote a guide to developing animated shows to help creators strengthen their premises, characters, stories, and worlds before they spiral into a vortex of endless possibilities. My book, A Guide to Developing Animated Shows, walks through the development process step by step. It's a comprehensive resource you can come back to again and again. And if you're looking for a community of like-minded creators and artists, we have a thriving Little Toughy Discord where people share their artwork, exchange feedback, share animations that inspire them, and cheer each other on. We'd love to have you join us. If you'd like to follow my indie journey making Strawberry Vampire, you can support me on Patreon, subscribe to my Substack inside Little Toughy Studio, or join our YouTube membership where I share exclusive behind-the-scenes videos, sneak peeks, and members-only live streams. Indie animation only survives with viewers' support. We're powered by fandom. So if you would like to support me so I can continue making these videos and continue making Strawberry Vampire, I could really use the help. And remember, there are no more gatekeepers. The only thing standing between you and bringing your ideas to life is you. Be scrappy, be a little toughy, and don't get in your own way of achieving your goals. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.